My name is Dr. Chris Willard, and I'm here in the Glenbard Parent Series, and I had a wonderful evening talking to parents about mindfulness and stress and all kinds of challenges that everyone's facing as parents today, especially, with really little kids. There's so much that's often on our minds. And I get asked all the time questions like, well, how do we help our kids be more mindful? Or what's going to be the best mindfulness practice for my kids? And part of my message is actually that it's for the kids, but just as importantly, it's really for us as parents, as adults. I've got a 5-year-old at home, I've got a 2-year-old at home, and to me, I do some fun mindfulness-y stuff with the kids, but where I find this most valuable is when I'm practicing this myself. Like, the best way that we can help our kids to calm down, to self-regulate, all that stuff, is to make sure that our buttons aren't getting pushed too much, or if they are getting pushed, that we're really learning how to respond rather than react to the latest meltdown, the latest tantrum, the latest, dinner refusal, or whatever it is that's really starting to press our buttons. Because if we're able to maintain our own calm and equanimity in the face of whatever meltdown is happening, then what happens is that we can reconnect with our kids that much more readily. We can start to build that attachment back up, even if there's been a little bit of a rift. And that's actually really important for our kids, is to have these little moments where there's a disagreement or there's a disappointment and they feel lousy and we feel lousy. But then it's about, how do we come back together? And if we're dysregulated, if we're out of control and the kids are out of control, that's never going to come back together. So to me, that's where mindfulness helps. It's finding that moment when, can I take a breath before I walk in the door when I know my kids are about to just run onto me? Can I find a moment before bed when we maybe practice together? Can I find a moment in the car even? One of my stories that I like to tell is my son's 5. He's kind of gullible because 5-year-olds are gullible, right? So we drive to school every day. We have this one terrible intersection. We've all got that intersection in our life that's like, the stoplight is forever. And so what I'll say when we get to the stoplight is I'll just be like, this traffic. I'm going to take a few deep breaths. And I'll do like a hot chocolate breath, which is like, hold up the hot chocolate and breathe in smelling. And blow out cooling off. And we'll just see how many hot chocolate breaths till the light grows from red to green. And my son now, it's great, because now we get up to the stoplight or we get into traffic and he says, hey, Dad, there's traffic. Can we do some breaths? And I'm just like, yes, right, as a parent, like total win. I'm calmer, he's calmer. He's watching me regulate my stress and frustration. He's learning how to do it. We're doing it together. We're growing up together learning this stuff. So, moments like a hot chocolate breath or practicing gratitude before bed, right? A lot of families, some of us, maybe we grew up in a spiritual tradition where we practice gratitude or said grace. Some of us don't do that anymore, but we can still practice gratitude, or we can still bring it into our spiritual experience. But we can, we just lay down at the end of the night, at the beginning of the night, and we just talk about a few things that went well during the day, like a few things that we're grateful for. Happy thoughts is what we call them. And so my son, he's 5, so he tries to make bedtime go longer, and he'll be like, let's think of 1,000 happy thoughts. And I'm like, well, why don't we just think of maybe 3 happy thoughts? And, and from there, though, it just becomes this, like, I share my 3 happy thoughts. My wife shares her 3 happy thoughts. My son shares his. And, in 5 years, in 10 years, I'm not going to lay down in bed next to him. Even if I try at the dinner table to say, what are you grateful for today? I know his eyes are going to roll back into his head. But the point is, he's getting into the habit now. And when I ask him that in 10 years, he might roll his eyes at me, but he'll still ask himself that question, right? And that's just as important as me asking it. In fact, that's better than me asking it, because it's become his now. And it's not me saying, practice mindfulness, do some gratitude, do some breathing, right? It's really him kind of getting into it in a different way. So finding ways to make it part of the routine, make it fun, make it a ritual, don't call it, mindfulness breathing, call it ninja breathing, call it Jedi breathing, don't call it mindful walking, call it ninja walking, and can you not make a sound at all? And these kinds of things actually help us focus and get into the moment, and they're fun. And this is what I think is so fun and great about mindfulness, is that It helps us, it helps our kids. We all regulate our nervous systems better. We're all starting to settle ourselves down, and we're all really having fun together too. So to me, that's a lot of what the talk tonight was about, and thank you so much for listening.